All right, after that dramatic intro, we are live. Welcome. This is a redo, but also an opportunity for everybody to ask questions and see what Saiyam was working on for the previous workshop. We kind of combined them both into one, so we're gonna have a single video with everything on there. But yeah, we're here to answer some questions, make this a little bit more interactive. This is outside of our, big series for Multi-tenancy March, so I think we can be a little bit more casual and answer stuff if y'all want to ask stuff. But welcome in, Saiyam. Welcome. You want to introduce yourself? Who are you? Like, who even are you?
Yeah, I'm Saiyam, and probably you know me from vCluster or from other YouTube channel or from CNCF or from different areas. But if you don't know, I'm Saiyam Pathak, working as a principal developer advocate at Loft Labs, and we are trying to solve the whole multi-tenancy spectrum. Soft, medium, hard, all types of isolations using the same developer experience. That's kind of the end goal that we are marching towards. But yeah, these are fun. And Mike just reached out like, let's do the workshops that you did again. So I just checked 20 minutes ago that they are working fine. So everything should be fine. But yeah, we do our initial prayers to the demo gods, so that everything goes smooth.
All right, we already have a question, which is a great question because it's very
Okay.
difficult. So Jaya, I have applied multiple times to KubeCon, but don't get selected. How do I get selected? I'm guessing you're talking about a talk. Everyone wonders that. Saiyam keeps getting selected, though. So how do you get selected, Saiyam?
See, the thing is, it all depends on the program committee. So it's not a one person's job. So what happens is, I can give you just because I have been in all the areas. So there is a program committee of a lot of members that is getting selected, and they are like CNCF ambassadors, chairs, tag leads, a lot of respected people in the industry. They are then assigned specific tracks, and then they review certain number of CFPs. Then they are passed on to track chairs. So every track has a couple of chairs. Now the track chairs take on the feedback and ratings and rankings from the program committee, and then they decide the rankings based on their experience. Then it goes to the co-chairs. Now the co-chairs finally decide what goes in and what goes out. Now the problem is these submissions are a lot. So if you read any CNCF report, the selection rate is in single digits, which is very hard to get in. So it's basically, it is really hard to get in. So you need to kind of try getting everything, in one place, be as concise as possible, less AI, more of use cases, because I think that gets more value, where you are able to. So think of it like you go into KubeCon, will you hear your own session that you have submitted? Like it, if it's very simple, or if it's whatever that is, would you be sitting there in the audience and hear that session? Because tickets are expensive, and you do the travel and then you attend. So it has to be like, this is the talk. And many of the times what happens is, there are a lot of things, like you have diversity in place that has to be taken care. You need to have companies like know lot of speakers from a single organization and all that stuff. So there are a lot of criterias that has to be followed, and then it's just luck. So you can be as good as you can, and then it's all luck. So all these things, plus luck.
Basically, yeah, luck is the most important thing, right? Like, and then also
Yeah.
maybe like selecting topics that they're not going to get 1,000 applications for, right? Like maybe like not talk about like the thing that everyone's talking about. Like if you're doing something novel or interesting, lean into that, right? Because some people aren't
Exactly.
talking about certain topics, right? Like there's community stuff. So do you have a talk coming up for North America, or have they done the selections yet? I don't
North
apply because
America.
I'm not gonna get selected.
North America CFPs are yet open still, so they'll
Okay,
close 27th of May. But
it's coming up quick.
I'm doing a keynote at KubeCon India.
Oh, are you excited?
Yes, that's my first KubeCon keynote. I have done Cube Day KCDs, but this will be the KubeCon one, will be the first one.
That's gonna be huge. All right, so we're here to talk about, with the CNCF, but also Kubernetes. And when I look at Siam, I think, how can this guy simplify Kubernetes in a way that'll make sense to me? So let's go ahead and hop in. Kube simplify. There you go. All right, so what do we got here, Siam? So we're gonna start with the first one with the ephemeral PR environments, and then the second one we'll do after that is going to be about what IDP and building internal developer platform.
Yeah, we can do all. Like I had two, which is like Kubernetes multi-tenancy, the shared platform stack, where you can have certain integrations that vCluster provides, and then the ephemeral PR environments one. I'm happy to do Cube Hatch one as well. Cube
Oh,
Hatch one,
awesome.
I didn't. Cube Hatch one,
Oh,
I didn't practice though, but we can try.
okay, yeah, no, we have another video of that on the I think you show that off on the CNCF YouTube, so we can kind of show that off too.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, well, welcome. Thanks for joining. Also, this is
you can.
recorded too, so you can watch it again after the fact if you miss anything.
Yep. So all the stuff is there, but you can connect with me on any of the socials at the rate Saiyam Pathak. So that's what it is. So yeah, before we kind of go into the demos, I want to keep it demo heavy and more of the Q&A so that people can get more of their questions answered. But I also want to give a gist, like a basic introduction
Yep.
of what we are talking about here and why we are actually here. So the initial problem, we are into the Kubernetes. CNCF is turning 10 this year. Kubernetes turned 10 last year. So we are not in the space where we can say that Kubernetes is new. Although yes, there are a lot of people who still have their day one with Kubernetes now, which is fine. Like you should be learning this technology. It's amazing piece of tech out there, and I think it's kind of becoming the de facto with every enterprise and even every startup. Like everyone is just using Kubernetes in some way or the other. Bare metal, GPUs, like you just name and you'll find Kubernetes powering the infrastructure for running these applications. So what we specifically or Loft Labs have created, we have a tool that we have created called virtual clusters, but I'll come to that, like vCluster, what it is and stuff. Before that, it's important to understand what the problem is. We need to understand the problem. Once we understand the problem, then we'll be easily able to understand what these solutions provide. So the problem today, or maybe let's talk about a problem a few years back. A problem a few years back when GKE, EKS, like 2019 timeframe, they're just coming out. The problem was the Kubernetes cluster creation, because the tooling was limited. kubeadm, how you use the binaries and stuff, and install the Kubernetes cluster. How do you bootstrap a Kubernetes cluster? So cluster creation was a big problem, and everybody was running towards finding an easier solution to create those clusters. And this is where all the cloud providers, hyperscalers, big, medium, small, across the globe started coming up with their managed Kubernetes offerings. These managed Kubernetes offerings have you know led to such a ease, or I should say in other ways, like these managed services eased out the cluster creation process, and they have like almost completely solved this particular challenge. So now you just go to Google Cloud and you go to your GKE, and then you just say I want a cluster, select the nodes, give basic configuration, or even if you skip it, it creates that. Same for other providers, that you DigitalOcean or Exoscale or whatever provider you want to use, EKS, AKS. It's kind of the similar experience with their own little bit customizations of CNI, the VPCs, VPNs, whatever they call it, and some networking options, some load balancer options, some network monitoring options. Once you have it, today after 10 years, we have different set of challenges. Now people people have evolved gradually. So I recently wrote a blog that what does your architecture look like in 2025, how does your infrastructure basically looks like in 2025. So basically I talk about the same thing. People have evolved earlier from the machines, big machines that they were ordering, to the bare metal infrastructure. Now they have the bare metal infrastructure. What did they do? They got VMs set up on that because of the virtualization technology and deployed the application. Well, the next best step after seeing containers and Kubernetes was to use the same infrastructure, because you're not obsoleting them, and then install Kubernetes on top of that. So people have started that same, keeping the layers same and adding on top of that. But the problem has become is now too many Kubernetes clusters, because people are creating cluster per team, cluster per environment. But why does it matter? It matters because it leads to a lot of cost. Clusters are not free. Uh, when you go to GKE or EKS or any of the clusters, what do? You create a cluster, fine. But is that cluster usable end to end? No, because you install a lot of other controllers and applications on top of that. See, cluster is a part of the infrastructure, I would say, because Kubernetes has become that piece of software that is now part of your infra layer. Now you need to involve other software so that your application works smoothly, your day two operations run smoothly. You want your application with HTTPS, you would want to have that cert manager. You want GitOps, you would want to have Flux, Argo CD, Fleet, or whatever tooling you are using. If you are using Ingress, you need to have that Ingress controller. So many tooling, Caverno, Crossplane, like bunch of tools you need, and you have to do that for all the clusters. So any cluster will be the bare bone cluster. So you do it for all the cluster. Every cluster comes with its own control plane cost. I don't know if I have that slide, but yeah, comes with its own control plane cost. And it also kind of is hard to maintain, because let's say you have a team of, I would not take a big number here, but there are a lot of clusters. Okay, 2000 plus clusters are very common in big enterprises. But let's say you have 50 people, like 50 teams, there are 50 Kubernetes clusters. Even that is hard to manage. How do you do that? And then 50 Kubernetes control plane cost, 50 duplication of resources of Argo CD instances, of Nginx controller instances, of cert manager instances that are consuming those resources is not a good thing. So probably you need to figure out some other way to manage the too many Kubernetes clusters thing. Mike, you want to add anything?
Well, so what you're saying is Kubernetes is easy, it's cheap, it doesn't get more complicated after you install it. That's what I'm getting.
I mean,
It's the complete
Kubernetes,
opposite of that. Yeah. All right,
Kubernetes,
so
like, so cloud providers, yes, have made Kubernetes easy to
say
at least set up, now this ease has led, like, let's say Mike, you are ops engineer, and you say, or maybe you're not the ops engineer or the developer, and you don't care about infrastructure, you don't care about the cost. You just say, hey, I need a Kubernetes cluster because I just want to run my application, or I just want to test my application, or maybe both. I need two Kubernetes clusters.
just one
You're just
pod.
throwing it. Yeah, and that's just one part of your
Yeah, let's
application.
get
Maybe
run one pod. I need 9 worker nodes.
and that's it, right? And you need a HA Kubernetes cluster because you'll do some basic load testing on that
I
on
need
your
3 load
application.
balancers for that one pod.
Yes. So you probably get that 10 nodes wasted for one application,
Yes.
which I think very soon the teams start realizing, and the CFOs come in, and the revenue team comes in. Whoa, 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 whoa. Our cloud is supposed to control the costs,
Yeah.
not rise the current cost that we are already having. So we came to the cloud so that we can cut our costs. That was the initial promise by the cloud providers. By the way, that is not true, because cloud providers are trying to make money in every single way possible. So now it comes to you, how you optimize things, how you do the day two operations, how you reduce the cost, how you monitor your cost, how you budget your infrastructure. So everything, and there are a lot of tools for all the things. We are specifically concerned here about Kubernetes, like how we can tame the Kubernetes clusters, run them in more sustainable way, save a lot of cost, and use maximum resources as possible.
So you got 20 mics, costing $2,000 a month for a single team. And you're like, wait. We don't have a budget for this.
We
The
don't
same thing
have
happened
budget,
at
right?
IBM. It's like everybody wants a cluster. They don't even name their clusters half the time. It's just my cluster. They create it. They don't even like select anything from default. Sometimes it defaults to 9 nodes, which is ridiculous. Usually it's
Yes.
3 nodes. So usually you're running a 3-node cluster for a single pod, because there's not a great way to share those and do like multi-tenancy, or at least there wasn't. But maybe there is
And
now.
all the clusters are incurring a control plane fee
Yep.
monthly. So it's not good.
So you use
This
vCluster.
is where there is a need for the Kubernetes multi-tenancy. So basically, you now know the problem. Like, we don't want Mike to create unlimited Kubernetes clusters, but we don't want him to feel like we don't have the money to do that. and we won't be, giving you the clusters. We still want to empower Mike to have those clusters, to run his application, to load test or to create load balancers, whatever that is, and give him the full control, full isolation in an autonomous way. We still want to do that, and that concept basically is called multi-tenancy. If you are able to do that, means you have achieved multi-tenancy. This is where we have that our team has worked, and since early 2021s, you would have seen a vCluster being popping up in a lot of YouTube channels, including Cube Simplify. Actually, Lucas did a stream with me on introducing vCluster, so which is good. So I have been part of vCluster even before I was part of this team. So I knew what problem they're trying to solve and why it is important in 2021. But I'm trying to explain you that it is even more important in 2025.
Yeah.
You need to trust me, because I'm coming from a background where I've seen vCluster grown from an outsider view. And now, yes, I'm an insider, so I know it really works. And it is the kind of, what I consider for myself at least, or obviously for our customers, is that this is the de facto layer on top of Kubernetes that you should be having, because it solves out a lot of problems. One of the other problem
Hold on, sorry, we had a question.
is,
It's like a
yeah.
it's like a DevRel question though, so I'll bring us down here. All right, so how are people getting the opportunity to travel with open source, like abroad, due to open source? Is it that easy, and is it possible? As a DevRel, what are your insights into that? I mean, it's interesting too, because we're talking about CNCF developer relations.
See, it's I would say nothing is easy. Nothing comes easy in life. It's all hard work, and with that, there is a lot of luck involved too. Always people say, like, right time, right opportunity. So if you are getting the right time, right opportunity, and you get clicked because you have done the hard work already, and you have that knowledge, then the whole combination makes it easy. So yes, the developer advocacy jobs or evangelist jobs, or even in marketing or even in sales. So all these fields, and even actually developers travel too. So it's not that developers don't travel.
Yeah.
It really depends on if you are a PM, a program manager, if you're a developer of a startup of a 6 people or 10 people team, you probably will travel. There's no question asked there. But yeah, if you are looking for a dedicated title where your 50 to 60% work is travel, then those are these kind of designations: DevRel, developer advocacy, and all those. And yes, you get to travel abroad, which is true, which is a lot of hard work. And again, as you mentioned, I don't know if it was the same person who asked the question of the CFPs. So you need to get those CFPs selected. You need to write those CFPs, and you need to then prepare for the talks. And sometimes you will be having 3 talks, 5 talks in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's really hard to kind of do that. And you keep on learning new tech, new stuff that is coming out, keep on doing new POCs, keep up to date with your own company's products, features, keep creating content on that. So it's basically the developer work, because you write code, you create those POCs, you create demo applications. So you do all that stuff. And yes, you get to travel as well. So it's it's easy and possible if you have the right mindset and if you are doing the hard work.
So what were you before DevRel? Like, what did you do before DevRel? Were you like sysadmin, or were you more developer focused?
Oh no, I was a library developer, so I was Java. I
Okay.
started my career with Java. I think I did 3 years of that, and that's a big time. Like, I immediately didn't switch, and then I did uh, the solution engineering. Then I was the software engineer again, and then I was the SRE, and then I became the technical evangelist, which is kind of evolution to all these roles. And now I'm into that role since, I think, 5 years.
Yeah, so he did a lot of stuff before, right? Like, to learn the things and learn how to do things and everything before he could talk about it. So it takes a little bit to get used to, unless, I don't know, you're just awesome at it to begin with. But it takes some experience a little bit to be able to talk about things that are interesting to developers and stuff beyond like 101.
I mean, you need to have played around with technology, at
Yeah.
least to some extent. I do not really understand the concept of DevRel interns. I mean, there are no hard
Yeah.
feelings, but my personal recommendation, if anybody is asking whether you should start your career with DevRel, is something I would avoid encouraging.
Yeah.
I would be like, go get your hands dirty, build stuff, build products, and now with AI you can do it even faster. So go out there, build it, be a part of team, release features, all that stuff. Understand the whole software ecosystem of releasing your own product software in the company, and then yeah, start creating content, and then you can figure out which field you want to go. But yeah, at least have some little bit of
Go fail a bunch, get used to failing and then getting better at
yes,
stuff, and then sharing those failure stories is some of the most interesting things that you can share people too, because you learn something from it and how to do things better, and you kind of
yep,
connect with people because nobody's perfect. I mean, Kelsey Hightower gets up there and does a demo and stuff. He's probably spent some time working on that demo,
yes.
messing up, and then trying to get it to work. He doesn't get it the first time, right? Like, I mean, maybe he does, and we're just all not as worthy yet.
So another problem is that how do we make Mike use, how does Mike get all these clusters, but he should not be installing cert manager every time or nginx controller every time, or all these software. So that is something which is called a shared platform stack. So how Mike can get a Kubernetes cluster with the basic stuff already in there, and he still gets a Kubernetes cluster, he's still able to do everything else. So that is why a technology called uh, namespaces in Kubernetes, to some extent, that Kubernetes wanted you to use it. So in Kubernetes, you can use namespaces. So with the namespace, you can create a tenant one. So I can create Mike cluster 1, Mike cluster 2, Mike cluster 3. And for every a cluster, because I want the isolation, so I can create those complex network policies. That's Kubernetes concepts. And then you can create limit ranges, which is also a network namespace scoped. You can create a bunch of other things, which is namespace scoped. But what are the limitations? So key issues is it becomes difficult as the number of tenant increases. Like for example, you can have Mike L1 namespace, Mike L2 namespace, Mike L3 namespace. But what if Mike wants to create a Mike L2 namespace in Mike L1 namespace? That is not possible. And but if Mike wants L1 and L2 namespace combined to a Mike N1 namespace, that is not possible. So aggregation of namespaces to a particular tenant becomes an issue. Aggregation of same namespaces by different. So let's say Mike wants to create nginx pod and in the namespace, but in a different namespace within a same namespace. Like, I know it sounds complex, but it is not
Yeah.
possible. That's why it sounds complex with the namespace concepts. I'll show you how easy it becomes when we do it in a virtual cluster. And then also, if Mike wants Argo CD of a different version, because his application is not, he wants to test out some new feature with the latest Argo release, and someone is not having that. But how do you do it? It's not possible. So CRDs, which is the custom resource definition, which are the custom controller, it's not possible. And then how do you handle different cluster versions? That is also not possible. Different versions of the same application with the same name and same namespace, it's not possible. And you still have a single point of failure with a single control plane. Like if there are 20 clusters of Mike, and if Mike does kubectl get pods -a, that goes to the control plane of the host. So it's overloaded, right? If there are 20 people, or there are 1,000 people, and there are 1,000 namespaces, all the 1,000 people do kubectl get pods. All the 1,000 requests immediately goes to the control plane of the API server. So there's a single control plane still. Keep that in mind, because that is a problem. This is where vCluster, the solution that Loft Labs have created as an open source project, it lets you do all, like, it solves obviously all the problems, because that's why I told you those are the problems, because it solves those problems. So you can do shared platform stack, you can have your own cluster. It's basically like, imagine you were supposed to get those bare metal machines to run your application, and suddenly you were able to one click in the cloud and get a virtual machine, and you still feel the owner of that virtual machine, and you still are able to deploy that application. Similar to this, you previously wanted to create a new Kubernetes cluster inside a cloud, but now you can simply get a virtual Kubernetes cluster, and you you will be the owner of that, look and feel of a regular Kubernetes CNCF certified cluster, and do whatever you want to do. Create namespace, create pods, create deployments, create custom resources, create load balancer services, create ingress, do whatever you want to do.
Say we have hyper optimized the delivery of infrastructure to the point that you don't get to just sit around and do nothing for a little bit. You got to work nonstop, right? Like that's what it used to be. It used to be like, oh, I need a server to do something. I'm just going to kind of mess around until I get that, and that might be a week, right? Like to get that bare metal machine might be a week, might be 2 weeks. It depends on how long it takes. And then you went down to, oh, I need this thing, and then you got a VM, and maybe like a couple hours, maybe take a couple hours to provision it and bring it up. Then you got a Kubernetes cluster, took 45 minutes through EKS. Now you got a virtual cluster, takes 60 seconds. So it's like you keep on optimizing the infrastructure so you can do more work, which is not. It's nice because you can fail faster, you can test faster, you can do all these things faster, right? Like so you can actually get some stuff done instead of kind of sitting around and I don't know. I guess you would have like read docs and stuff for like that week, maybe
And
messed
that's
around
what is
locally.
happening, right? That's what is
Yeah,
happening with the AI as well. Like we want to
yeah.
increase the productivity, the velocity of applications that are getting pushed to production, fixing bugs faster. Microsoft launched their SRE agent, and EKS yesterday launched their dashboard for having all the clusters in a single pane at no cost. So like everyone is trying to, every organization is trying to optimize how we can try and make the lives of developers easy so that they can just focus on code and keep coding and no
Yeah, did you
rest.
watch Google? Like what yesterday or the day before was just all AI, everything, right? But like, what are we racing towards? The singularity. Like I
Yeah.
guess I don't know. Like that's what's supposedly coming. So we'll see.
All right, enough of the talk. So I hope you got a gist now. We'll just do two demos. This
Yeah.
is demo one. You can
So let me
scan or you
post it
can,
real quick too.
yeah.
I'll post it.
Okay, we'll post it. Then we'll just go to the terminal. Yes. So kubectl get nodes. What you need is you need a vCluster CLI. You can go to vcluster.com or github.com/vcluster and do a brew install loft sh vcluster, and then you have the quick start documentation or whatever you want, and you can see the expert talks, and one interesting thing is adopters. So basically the production case studies and stuff from the adopters of virtual cluster. Like it's definitely production ready. Yeah, we are making
Let
money,
me post that in too.
so it's working. And I already have vCluster installed. The current latest release is 0.25. Awesome release. You should check that out. I know Mike is working on the video already for the release and Istio integration and all the fancy stuff.
It's
But yeah,
coming.
it's coming. Yeah, so make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and press the bell icon so that you do not forget any video.
We're doing some more live stream stuff too, right? Like we're gonna get like some more stuff coming up and everything too. Maybe we'll do some. I think we should do some that are a little bit more friendly to your time zone too, Siam. Like a little bit earlier in the day for you. Like I'll stay up late. I'll stay up late and come interview you and like your AM, like your 8 or 9 a.m. That way we can serve the EU and Asia and everyone else too, like that may not
Not
be able to
you,
watch us
right?
live.
My AM is not you. My AM is not you. That's
It's not even
midnight.
close. Yeah. I think you're 12 and a half hours past
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
I mean, this time kind of works like for all the time zones, except apart from the New Zealand. That is extremely hard to map on. But apart from that, APAC, EU, and US, this is something like most of the people will be awake. Like right now in India, Probably not everyone is asleep. So it should be fine. So vCluster I already have with version 0.25. You can download that, pretty simple. And vCluster, I already have a Kubernetes cluster that I showed you, kubectl get nodes. That's a regular cluster. You can use kind cluster, you can use anything out there. And we'll do a vCluster list so that I'll show you it doesn't have any Kubernetes, any virtual clusters there. Now let's see a few things. So there is a thing called vCluster YAML file or configuration file, where you can customize your virtual cluster configuration, and you can specify how your virtual cluster will come up, like what version of your virtual cluster you want, integrations, what all integrations you want to enable, what all syncs you want to enable. Do you want to sync to host? Do you want to sync from host? All that stuff. In this, we have tried to keep things simple. I'm using one integration called cert manager integration, and I'm saying I want to sync back the ingresses. So on my cluster, what do I have? kubectl get pods -a. On my cluster, I already have cert manager installed. So you can see cert manager is already up and running. I already have nginx ingress controller installed. I already have kubectl get svc-a, which is, sorry, I used to get kubectl get svc-a with a load balancer of nginx ingress, which is pointing to a domain, my domain called vcluster.tech. So that all stuff is configured. Now let's try to create it. So vcluster create demo cert -f vcluster.yaml file. So what it is doing is it's running a Helm command, and it is using the configuration file that I showed you here, this one, using this so that it knows that it has to enable that integrations and do all the magic behind the scenes. And yeah, in some seconds, the virtual cluster will be up and running. Yeah, it's already created. We can see on the host cluster, let's see, it created a namespace, where it is, demo cert.
It might still be coming
Yeah,
up.
this one.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
kubectl get pods -n. So we can see that 21 seconds ago, the pod is in initializing phase. So this is a stateful set. So this is a stateful set. You can actually customize it to make it ephemeral, like without any persistent volume, but right now it is with persistent volume, so that it can store the state, because that has etcd, embedded etcd and stuff. And what it is doing is kubectl, actually we can describe it. So you can see what is happening is it is having its own controller manager, API server, Kubernetes 1.2.2. Oh, I think in 125, we actually consolidated everything into a single piece, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So what it's if you do from 0.24, you will find a couple of more events of pulling the API server, controller manager, and the control plane components. But right now it says the Kubernetes 132.1, which is consolidating even the control plane components into single process, which is pretty dope. Gives you even faster speeds and faster communication time, faster startup time. Sorry.
So vanilla Kubernetes running in there, right? Like, so you can try different
Yes,
versions
yes,
of
yes,
Kubernetes if you want to.
yes. So that's basically a Kubernetes 132.1 version that will be running in this virtual cluster. And interestingly, if I do kubectl get nodes, oh, so I am now already. So what happened is, I'll show you what happened. So now the cluster has been created, and my so Kubernetes cluster is created. Now try to understand this if you are hearing for the first time. Kubernetes cluster is created, the virtual one. It has its own kubeconfig file that got generated. It got merged with my kubeconfig file as a context, which is this context, and it automatically switched the context, which is why now if I did kubectl get pods -a or get ns, I won't see any of the stuff from the host cluster. This is what we want, right? I don't want Mike to view anything from the host cluster, and you should not. Interesting thing is, if you see, it is v32.1, which was here v32.1. But if you remember, our host cluster is running v31.1. So that's how things are. You can have v32.1, you can have v33 and stuff. I'll write. The blog is coming out on Kubernetes 133, how you can test out new features on virtual cluster as well. So
Bunch
stay
of new
tuned
stuff.
for
That's
that.
cool. Yeah.
And yeah, there's your vCluster. Now I can do kubectl run. Let me clear the screen so that it's more visible. Kubectl run nginx -- image nginx. Or I can ask kubectl AI. Actually, my LLM provider is not running. I want it to be a bit more fancier.
I didn't even know that was a thing. You
And
messing around with the open web UI and Olama.
Export host something. Let me see if I have to set the host. What was that? Open.
How remove it? So in case you want to, if you need to search your history or something like that.
Or yeah,
that's something I've been playing with too. Is like running LLMs in Kubernetes, running it in K3s, and then attaching it to a graphics card. So hopefully we'll have some content out about that soon. Like I got it running. I got a 1080 Ti that I was running it on, and I just installed a 5070 Ti. So I want to try it on that because I think after the 10
yeah,
series,
you can do that. You can bring back again.
Okay. Here we go.
So basically, you can say that create a deployment nginx with image nginx and 3 replicas.
We have to do a webinar on this. Ask, have like a prompt by chat, and like, what would you like to prompt?
So you can see deployment nginx with 3 replicas has been created. And if I go, that's just, I wanted to just show you because I had the setup ready, right? Get pods.
I'll say what's interesting for us and the generation of that we came in, we're used to 10 to 15 years of very bad AI and text to whatever, right? Like, so we're used to like Siri from 2010 or whatever, and it was so bad. All of it was so bad. So it's like the trust level. I mean, a lot of people here that are here right now probably too, same idea, but it's like the trust level, all this stuff. I still don't like this stuff. It's not very good, right? Like Alexa came out and you're like, it's not really that good. Like it's like logging all this stuff and then it's like not really getting right what I'm asking. But now, and with these large language models and stuff, it seems a lot better. So like I think there's hesitation in some groups to like really get into it, whereas other groups are just like full on embracing it, right? So I didn't even know this was a thing, or like I haven't messed around with this at all. Like that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was released a few, I think last week by GCP. So
I'm not a dinosaur yet.
Yeah, it's simple, and I mean it's useful if you are a beginner and stuff. You can try learn some of the command things. But yeah, what I wanted to show is everything is running. You can see I can create a pod, I can create a deployment. That's my pod. And if Mike wants to create a namespace,
I can have that Mike 2 or Mike 1 or Mike 3.
He can.
It'd be 7 of me if I want.
Mike 1, Mike 2, anything. Mike can create n number of namespaces, because the reason for that is the control plane, like I said, the request, the control plane, and the cluster state is separate for every virtual cluster. So this particular commands that I'm doing, get pods, create namespaces, this is going to the data store of this virtual cluster and not the host cluster. So you have to kind of remember this. Okay, let's do kubectl apply -f issuer. I'll show you what that is. And if you know cert manager, you already know that.
Get issuer, and you have a cluster issuer. I'm lazy, so I always do cluster issuer, so I don't have to do an issuer per namespace or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a cluster issuer. Let me just check.
It probably is.
No, it's a issuer.
Yeah, oh dang, yeah, regular issuer. That's namespace, specific.
Regular. Yeah, I'm doing it the right way. Okay.
Yeah, you're doing it the right way. I'm doing it the lazy way, where I'm just like, oh, everybody have fun.
And then we have the simple app. So it is a simple deployment application.
Everyone's like, this
It
this
has the
one email has
image.
created like 50 domains, 100 search for this one email address. Yeah.
It has service, so kubectl apply hyphen f app dot YAML, and then do it fast. Come on. And then we have cat. What do we have? Ingress. Yeah, ingress dot YAML.
You're just like, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. You gotta slow down. Too much
Yeah,
is
I don't
going on.
know.
This application have a little bit of.
No, this is a simple one actually. Yeah, handling connections. That is fine. Okay,
Oh, here we go.
created. Cat ingress. This is the ingress. So I'm using the class. So you can see I am not using the annotation. So basically what you can do is you can actually add an annotation to cert manager annotation to ingress, and if ingress is synced to the host, it automatically creates. But since we are testing the uh, um, cert manager integration, so I have not added that annotation just to show that integration specifically is working. TLS, this is the TLS setting, ingress class name, secret name, and cert.vcluster.tech is something that we will be creating. So kubectl apply -f, and what is this? Ingress. So
Oh, we have a
ingress
good
is created.
question. So I have a question while
Yep.
this is going on. So like, basically the question is, everything's going towards singularity. I mean, singularity, we're saying like, dominant AI, right? Like super dominant AI that is like going or creating or updating so fast it's hard to keep up with, right? Like what do we think for, Linux admins and others and SREs and stuff who maybe haven't really worked with much Kubernetes or anything like that, but they're SREs, like what's the future for them? I'll start and then I'll give it to you, Sam. Well, like everything in Kubernetes is literally based on stuff that you've already been doing and you've done before. It's just translating
Yeah.
that stuff into what Kubernetes is. Like you've done IP tables, right? Like you've done Linux administration. You've probably configured virtual hosts on Nginx or like Apache or something like that. All of that stuff still exists in this. So troubleshooting is just figuring out where to look, right? So you'll probably have a little bit of difficulty figuring out where to look, and then you'll realize, oh, I can just go describe things. I can exec into pods and look at configuration files if I want to. Everything's created declaratively, but there's still a way to go troubleshoot it and use those Linux admin skills that you had previously to get into Kubernetes if you're interested. Like this is just building upon stuff and making it easier for people to get access to it, but the complication is still there and the layers are still there for you to troubleshoot. That's my 2 cents. What do you think, Saiyam?
Yeah, I think the demo is working.
Okay. It's a
Yeah,
difficult
I mean,
question because it's very loaded too. Like it's a good question, but it's like we're guessing, right?
see, I personally feel if you are a sysadmin, then you would be a much better SRE and a DevOps expert than a person who is coming from a non-sysadmin background. So that is always there, and infrastructure is the key. Whether it's AI, whether it's anything else, infrastructure is the key. And there are so many opportunities. There's so much to learn in this area. How do you prepare your infrastructure for AI? So you learn everything about that. You don't need to learn about machine learning models, but you need to learn about everything else.
Like all the developers and stuff that are working on this stuff and all the data scientists, when you get into AI, it's very interesting because like the data scientists and stuff, they just want like a Jupyter notebook or they want something very easy to go mess around with and everything. And not all of them are developers, right? So you're just supporting a new set of people, but you're taking those sysadmin skills and you're just moving it over to something new that you can learn and you can figure out and you can troubleshoot. And then you're just supporting the same types of people, right? So they still need you right now, right? Like I don't think AI is doing everything, and I don't think everyone trusts AI to go deploy everything for them and get everything configured and set up. There's still some decent amount of human interaction right now. So I think, I hope that's still like decades out, but I guess we'll see. I think we're, and this is not the super educated guess on this, but after like watching it and messing around with it and stuff, I think we're hitting a point where it's going to be much harder to get that last 10 to 20% beyond where we are now. Like all the LLMs and stuff, they keep on promising all these like greater and better models. They're getting better, but you need the hardware to be able to run it, right? Like, and it's not blowing us away yet. Like we saw, the Apple AI stuff. I don't know if you played around with it. It was a little bit of, underwhelming and stuff like that. So hopefully, that promise gets better, but I think it's going to take a while to build it to that. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm not the smartest person in that. I probably am wrong, but we'll see.
So what while we were talking, the only thing that I created extra is a certificate. Um, and interestingly, I don't have any cert manager installed on my virtual cluster. So you need to see this carefully. There's no cert manager installed over here.
What if you get
Mike
issuer?
has
Do you see?
not installed. Sorry.
Is the issuer shared up? I don't remember. Like if you get
Yeah.
issuer in, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So issue and then the certificate is created. So these two things I have created on the virtual cluster. Ingress I have created on the virtual cluster. Ingress is synced back to the host, and Nginx controller is on the host cluster, and cert manager is on the host cluster. So I am sharing those resources. I am not creating, like Mike has not created those resources again. So Mike is just able to get a Kubernetes cluster full-fledged, do whatever he wants to do, and then able to deploy his app, use Ingress as it was a regular Kubernetes cluster, even without installing any of the admin tools like Cert Manager and all the other things. And you can see here, I'm absolutely right. It is connection is secure. It is HTTPS, and you can check it too. Cert.vcluster.tech. It works.
It's a great example of like a developer and like what they'll be deploying and getting set up. We had a question too. Everything is Kubernetes based. This is virtual, so it's basically what vCluster is. If you want to have the easiest explanation, is it's Kubernetes in Kubernetes. So it just gives you another Kubernetes a layer up, so they can get different API endpoint, and then it still all runs on the base Kubernetes layer. Like it's not actually doing a hypervisor level or anything like that, which would slow things down. So
Yep. So let me go quickly through one of the interesting use case. So let's say now Mike has the virtual cluster, or Mike has the Kubernetes cluster. What Mike wants is he's creating product rapidly, right? He's smart. He is doing a lot of changes. He wants to test every small change, and for every small change, he is pinging or bothering other people for clusters. Like he himself is creating 100 clusters. I don't know why. So every
wow.
PR he wants, for every PR he wants a new cluster. He wants to test now, and he and the issue with Mike is he doesn't like waiting. That's the
I
problem.
don't.
He wants it now. So how do we solve this problem with virtual clusters? Is we can create a setup like now. This is something people can actually use in production. It actually people are using in production. So what is happening over here is Mike has a GitHub repository. So this is Mike, and he is creating a PR against a particular repository, and then he's adding a particular label to test that. Now the admins have set up a action in certain way that Mike already discussed with the admin, that as soon as I add a test label, my new changes should be deployed on a fresh, remember, hear me carefully, on a fresh Kubernetes cluster. My changes should be deployed, and I should be able to get a link that I can test with. So that is a big ask, but yeah, admins were able to kind of do it with virtual cluster. So they created a GitHub Actions CI pipeline where they did a build for the application with Mike's changes, and push the application, and then also used Jinja template to auto update the newer version of the application to the deployment manifest, and then create a virtual cluster, deploy that manifest update, create the service, create the ingress, and give that back to Mike so that Mike can do his automated or manual testing, and then merge it or remove the label if he's happy, or if he just want to close the PR and use it will delete the cluster. So
It's all this like
that's
about like a couple minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes, depending on how long the GitHub actions and stuff take, right? Like instead
yeah,
of waiting 45 minutes for an entire like EKS cluster to come up or
yeah.
something else.
I'm going to show you, like it's not something that we'll not do it. We'll definitely do this one. So, and this is a very cool one. So let's go to Ephemeral PR. So this is the repo. Mike, if you can just share the repo link.
Yep. It's a further up. I'll let me share it again. This is the ephemeral one,
And
right?
also we have a very good write-up. So it has a GitHub pages, with a neat write-up that you can go and check out with more theory, detail, and all that stuff. So, like, what's the whole flow of the GitHub actions? So basically, it builds the application with latest changes using Co is a builder for Go, pushes the container image to the Docker Hub account, but now we are actually using GHCR um, GitHub registry, if I'm not wrong. Let me just check. Okay, so let's do it step by step. And actually, first let's trigger this so that we don't waste any time. So we'll create a new branch, live demo, create a new branch. So Mike created a new branch. Okay, Mike creates a lot of branches, so he has created a new branch. And now Mike is going to application, and now Mike is saying I don't like the HTML file, so I'll just update the HTML file. And Mike changes everything. Join vCluster workshop, and he says I just want my name over there and no one else should be there, so with Mike. And commit the changes. He commits to his own branch. Okay, till now everything is pretty neat, pretty simple. And he can now do a compare and pull request. So Mike says I want to create a pull request. Fine, do whatever you want to do. Now Mike knows, and he has communicated with the dev team or with the admin team, that he will be adding a label test, and he added a test label. As soon as Mike adds a test label, there is a GitHub action that got triggered. So we'll see the success of that, and meanwhile we'll also see what is there in that GitHub action. In that GitHub action, the admin team, let's see what they have done. So they have created that this will start if the GitHub label is test, which is fine. So GitHub action got started. First is checking out of the code. So code got checked out. Setting up Go, setting up initializing Go module, setting up Co for building the application. Log into GHCR, which is what we are using. Building and pushing the image with Co. So this is the repo where we want to push. This is the platform, exporting the image, full image, getting the tag and stuff. And this is in the GitHub env. And now we are using a Jinja template where it is deploy.j2. So let's see what do we have in deploy.j2. We have tmpl and deploy.j2. Deploy.j2 has a couple of things in curly braces. One is the image deploy tag, and one is the ingress tag. That means I can use a Jinja template in my GitHub action and replace those values at runtime. So this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to replace these variables, image deploy tag and ingress tag. Ingress I'm generating dynamically with respect to the pull request number. So pull request number dot vcluster.tech. vcluster.tech admins have configured to the public IP of the ingress controller, which is running on vCluster, which is running on the Kubernetes cluster, where the
Oh, we just
virtual
have like a
cluster.
wildcard DNS
Yes,
record or something
yeah,
like that. So everything before.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Then pushing the deployment manifest, but we are not pushing it to the main branch. We are checking out a new feature branch because that is a feature test branch with Mike's changes, and then we are trying to create a virtual cluster. So we are using the GitHub actions for virtual cluster, providing the platform and the access key because we are trying to use one template feature, which is here. So this is a simple vcluster.cloud. You can see a virtual cluster is already in progress creation. It is using the template. It is using this template. Basically, the template says that the ingress stuff is there and the auto sleep is on. If you want to learn more about sleep mode and stuff, you can check out our YouTube channel, and the cluster version is 0.25.
Mike's weekly demos every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, you get the weekly demo. I'll show this off and answer questions and stuff too.
So you can see the vCluster is also up and running and ready, and you can see that it must have deployed the pods, or it might be just deploying the pod right now because and workshop app pod is actually deployed. So our action should be on the verge of completion. Initialize Go, setup Go. What else is there? After that, deploy the application and now test the application. So testing pr dot GitHub event pull request number and vCluster.txt. So everything is kind of automated. So this is an automated test. But Mike said, I want to test myself as well. So we'll respect Mike's demand. I mean, he demands too much sometimes, but
Yeah,
it's
too
fine.
much.
Yeah. And we can see what was the page that it is running. This one, PR14, and you can see. And yeah, you can see the change. Okay, join vCluster multi-tenancy workshop with Mike. So I hope he's happy now, and the changes have been in place. Now there are two things that can be done. Either Mike can merge it. Once Mike merges it, it will trigger a cleanup flow that will just clean up the virtual cluster. So you can see vCluster platform delete virtual cluster name, or simply Mike can say, I want to add more things to this PR. So for now, I'm done with my testing. I'll just remove the label. So removing the label also triggers that same action of deleting that virtual cluster. And everything happening, you can view inside the virtual cluster cloud or virtual cluster platform, basically. So you can see the cluster is being terminating state. So that's the complete flow of how kind of things work with ephemeral PR environment. I think that's a fancy demo. If you
Yeah.
don't find it fancy, let me know. I'll try to create even fancier demos.
But that's a good thing because it's like, the first thing you're showing off where you're just deploying a virtual cluster, that's what you're going to do day one. But then if you actually want to give virtual clusters to your developers, you don't necessarily even want to give them their own cluster. Like you just want to be able to deploy like the preview environments. Maybe they just want to work out of GitHub all day. They don't want to touch Kubernetes. It's another way to actually do that and use virtual clusters and Kubernetes to support what they want, right? Like maybe they don't need to see all this stuff. They just want to deploy it and go see it and be like, oh, that's fine. So it's another good workflow you can use to where like you create a cluster that takes, like I said, like a minute or like 2 minutes instead of an EKS cluster to do the testing, which might take like 45 minutes. Even if you're not spending that much on the EKS cluster because you're just bringing it up and taking it down, you're still losing that time that it takes for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
And yeah, if
everything
anyone
is,
has any other questions, let us know, right? Like we're here to answer some questions. We've already had some good questions, right? Like we'll answer questions that are just about like the I don't know, IT and stuff in general too. Those are always fun to talk about. But I'm sorry, I'm taking
yeah,
up so
so
much of your time, and we're
vCluster is
already hitting like
open
an
source.
hour.
Yeah, so vCluster is open source, but we also have enterprise where you get this fancy UI, you get templates, you get a
Yeah.
lot more features, you get direct integrations with Helm, Terraform, Argo CD, and everything. You get the access, RBAC, global secrets. You get templates. On top of that, you get the enterprise enabled features like sleep mode integration, cert manager integration, KubeVirt integration, Istio integration, and a bunch of other things, which Mike can talk an hour about.
Yeah. Go to the weekly demos. You want more about that? Go to the weekly demos. But that was awesome. That was awesome, Saiyam. Thanks so much. I know we took a good amount of time to get through all the other stuff. Hopefully that was helpful and entertaining to people too. I think that it's a lot to digest too. So we have the links there if you want to go try it yourself and play around with it. And then, oh yeah, I have a call to action. I have a call to action. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. Saiyam, do you want to add anything before we head out here in a few minutes while I get this up on the screen so that we can say what's coming
Yeah.
up?
So I also created a project called KubeHatch. I can present just 1 second again.
All right, yeah. So I'll bring mine back up in a minute. Let me remove this. So KubeHatch being something cool. I'll post the link to the CNCF video too if you want to go watch some more information about it while Saiyam shows us off.
So KubeHatch was basically a minimalistic internal developer platform. Basically, I created a UI. I can actually show you. So I don't know the username and password. Something like that. Yeah, basically it's a UI. I always forget the username and password. So it will give you the option to upload a kubeconfig file, give a name to the cluster, enable HA mode, a load balancer. And this is all pure open source. This is based on pure open source. Even the code and everything is open source. Okay. So you can check out, even the UI is open source, and backend, front end, everything is open source. And you can actually deploy it on a cluster, because the front end has I have the repository of K8s, and you can deploy everything. It has a ingress, role, service front end, service back end, everything is there. You can deploy it on your cluster. So you can deploy this, an internal developer platform, on your Kubernetes cluster, and then anyone from your team can go there, create a Kubernetes cluster, and they'll be able to just get a kubeconfig file that they can download and interact with. That's how fancy it is. It's a minimalistic stuff that you can try out.
Minimalist, and it seems like it's not much, but then like I saw this and I was like, oh, what is this? And then I didn't really understand until I watched that CNCF video, and I was like, oh, Saiyam showing how you can build your own very easy IDP, or yeah. It's like the super easy IDP that you can get started with to just go hand out clusters to your users and stuff if you want to give them an easy way to deploy a cluster instead of having them go the command line, learn virtual clusters and all that stuff too, which is pretty cool. And then obviously you can build around that.
This is open source, everything.
Yep.
And this is just 5% of what, or not even 5, like, just 2-3% of what vCluster platform is. So I just wanted to show the power of vCluster platform and what it takes to build this. Like, it took some time to build this, and if you have to create a full-fledged platform and without any enterprise features, how much time it would take. So probably you can, for an experiment, just try this, and if you want to try on your own, try this.
All right, I'm gonna steal the stage. All right, so we got this coming up. I'll link it again. So next Thursday, join the Linux Foundation and listen to Lucas and here, I'll swear down. Lucas and Michael, they're going to be talking about how Aussie Broadband went from, 195 VMs down to just bare metal Kubernetes. So that's the use case we're going to be talking about a lot here coming up. We're going to be talking about how to access GPUs, how to do vCluster on bare metal, right? Like, we got a new project that came out, vNode. vNode will actually help you with the security issues that you were like thinking about previously, which is why you would run VMs for Kubernetes on top of that. But anyways, check this out. There's going to be a lot of information there. They're going to be talking about how they moved from VMs to bare metal, which is one of the big things people are talking about. And then also we have like the weekly demo coming up next week, and then we have some more webinars and stuff coming up too. But I think some stuff on the future, since everybody's interested about AI and all that stuff too, is we're going to be talking about some LLMs and things like that. I think even Saiyam, if you could show off the Cube AI stuff, since it's so new, maybe we can do something about that and do like an AI, dedicated type thing. Because if you're like me, right, like, a little bit about it. Like, I've done some training and a little bit of stuff too, but I don't feel confident in it, and I haven't had access to GPUs. A lot of people might be like, where do I get started? What do I even need to do? Why would I want to run a local LLM versus just, use ChatGPT? Well, hopefully we can answer some of those questions. But anyways, thank you, Saiyam. Thank you for joining us. I know it's later there. I appreciate you joining and showing this stuff off. I don't know if we have any other questions before we head out, but I think that's going to wrap it up for us. I think we hit like an hour. We'll see you again soon, Saiyam, right? Like, where are you going to be next? So you got KubeCon India. Where else are you going to be?
Oh yeah, KubeCon India. I'll be at Container Days in Hamburg. I'll be KCD Sri Lanka. I'll be keynoting over there. And then we'll be planning some LLM workshops. We have a big GPU use case that we are doing. So you'll see a lot of content on GPUs, bare metal, GPU sharing, how to do that, creating clusters. I'll simplify LLMs. And yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming up in the next few months. So stay tuned. We are pumping in a lot of energy, effort, learning a lot of new stuff myself.
Yeah, we're learning much.
Then sharing with everyone is pretty cool. But yeah, if we are at KCD New York, so if we are coming over there, then please meet our team. And our team is kind of roaming a bunch of places. Scott will be there, our newest DevRel. He'll be kind of roaming around here and there at some CNCF meetups and things. I'll be there at some CNCF meetups as well. So
yeah, come talk to us. Like, literally, it's one of the most fun things for me at conferences is just talking about vCluster, especially to someone who hasn't used it that much, and like they're just asking questions. Like, the energy around it is unlike anything I've worked in before, right? Like, it's awesome. Like, that sounds ridiculous, so I'm upselling, but no, really, like, I've been at booths where like I had to like chase people down to talk to them about the thing that I'm trying to sell, or like even like get them to use. But with like vCluster, people are just coming up and asking us questions. Like, it's awesome and it's wonderful. The community is great. Like, I love having people come up and ask us about it. All right, cool. So we'll see you next time. Right, like, we'll have some more stuff. Follow us on YouTube. We'll have some more events coming up. I'm going to post things there. We have a couple of other webinars, internal ones from us coming out, and then some other stuff. But thanks, Saiyam. All right, let's go ahead and head out, and we'll see everybody next time. All right, let me in the stream.